Jesteśmy w hotelu Arsenal Palace w Chorzowie. Moim rozmówcą jest Big John McCarthy, główny sędzia MMA Attack 2. Hello John, nice to meet you. First of all, I would like to know, how do you feel in Poland?
It's great right now. I haven't done a whole lot here, but it's very nice people is the best part.
Is this your first time here?
First time in Poland ever, yeah.
About the MMA Attack, when exactly did the organizer contact you?
It's probably about 4 months ago they contacted me, asked me if I'd be available for it, and everything worked out, so that's why I'm here.
And which fights exactly will you be refereeing?
I don't know that yet. I have no idea what fights I'm doing yet.
Will they tell you today at the weigh-in maybe?
They might. It might be today or tomorrow, I don't know.
And speaking about you as an international referee, one of the most famous, you started since UFC 2, and then you had a short break between refereeing, and then you made a comeback, and then again you have a breaks from refereeing. What happened?
No breaks from refereeing. It may be breaks from people seeing me in the UFC or something like that.
Yes, exactly, UFC.
But I'm busier refereeing now than I've ever been, and it's people establish the UFC is the number one, and if they're not seeing you there, then you're not working. I'm working all the time, so it has nothing to do with that. I work for the UFC when a commission asks me to work there. I'm not asked by the UFC to work for them. So when I get asked by a commission to work one, I work one. If not, I have something else I'm doing.
Exactly, and when you said about working for athletic commissions, you work for them, not for the UFC, not for the events. But did UFC do they have the power to say no, we don't want this guy to work for us today, or I don't know, never, or something like this?
Yeah, they have that power. They can make a request if they don't want someone to work for them and stuff. And some commissions will sit there and say okay, and some will say no, you don't have a real reason to. So it just depends on the commission.
Speaking about the UFC, the 10-point must system, do you think it's a legit system, or you have the better idea?
Everyone's got a better idea. And that's not the UFC system. The UFC is a promotion. That system is part of the unified rules, and that was written up before the unified rules. Exactly the way that fights are judged now was written up by me and Jeff Blatnick long ago. And is there probably a better way to do it now? Yeah, there's probably a better way to do it. But it's just going to take time, and that's the evolution of the sport. And I'm sure eventually, the way, it may not be the point system, but the criteria for the judging of fights and what we're going to give credit to and what we're not is going to change eventually, and we're going to get a better system overall than what we have now.
You work mostly as a referee, but also I know you have some other things on your mind in your life. But could you explain what exactly do you do for a living except refereeing?
What I do for a living except refereeing? Refereeing is not my living, because I would be broke. But I have a gym that that's my main source of income. I teach all over the world, and when I'm not doing something, either refereeing or teaching somewhere, I'm at my gym running that business, and that takes everything I have. So.
Any big names in your training at your gym?
Oh, I've had a lot of big names that have come in and train for a couple of days a week or something like that. But guys that are there all the time. I don't have any real big names. Probably the biggest name is he's on the Ultimate Fighter right now. That's Vince Pichel, and he just won his fight. He won the fight to get in the house, and he just won his fight against John Kofer. So he's doing good, and that's a good feeling when you're the person with the gym. As far as it's great to have big name guys in there, but you like to see guys that came from nothing, that have learned everything that they know basically from where they're at, and show that you have the ability to get a guy from zero up to something based upon what you're teaching, but also his natural talent.
And speaking a little bit more about your private life, your nickname Big John, I know the story, and we will not ask you about it. But is it referenced with Big John from the Robin Hood story or something?
No, that was it was really Art Davie who was the first promoter of the UFC, and we were joking around, and I picked him up, and that's how the name came about.
Getting back to the UFC as the number one organization, do you think they will become finally the monopolist for MMA?
A monopoly? When you say monopoly, it's a hard thing to. The UFC is the biggest organization. They have the biggest glut of fighters, especially top quality fighters there is. Is that ever going to change? I can't say. I don't see anybody on the horizon. Bellator is probably the second biggest because Strikeforce is owned by the same company that owns UFC. So right now, I don't see that changing, and that's the sport. The promotion that leads the way is the UFC, and they're the ones that kind of set the rules, and that's just the way it is.
And you've been in a lot of huge fights as a referee. Do you still have some big fight on your mind? You would like to be the referee?
That are coming up, you mean?
Yes.
You know what? My whole thing is I don't care, and it's hard for people to understand this because I've been doing it for so long and stuff, and I don't care if I'm in a big show or a small show. I don't care if it's a Chuck Liddell going against a Randy Couture, or if it's just a nobody going against another nobody. My whole thing is I like good competition between the fighters, and if I can get a fight where it's competitive, that's what makes me happy. So when you get some of the big ones, probably the last big one I did was I guess John Jones against Lyoto Machida. That's a big one. It's a good fight, lasted a couple rounds and stuff, but I get other fights that are just as compelling as far as the interaction between the fighters. There may not be as grand as far as the build-up for them, but as long as it's a good competitive fight, that's what I look for.
Can we see you again in the UFC maybe pretty soon, or you have no idea?
I'll be working the UFC again coming up, but when it happens, it happens. I don't worry about it.
So thank you very much. It was great speaking to you, and wish you much luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.